loyalty, which most likely, and as it turned out, meant the death penalty. I left the courthouse with words being shot at me from all directions. I still feel the charge was unfounded, and for the first time in my life, I felt embattled, beaten, and jammed. So he also, while he's in this jail, he starts contemplating how he will be executed. He's hoping it'll be a firing squad because he knows there are no guns left in the world anyway. So we'll do his funeral. The funeral. I'm not much for ritual. I like target shooting and competition. For the sake of dear ones, they always say there should be some kind of gathering, casket or no. Question is, who are my dear ones? I don't have any left. Holsters are empty, truck windows vacant. The guys who were always ready to pull me out of glove boxes are pissed that we're all gone or going. They mourn, but anger gets in the way of grief. They wouldn't come to a service for me anyway. It would be their boycott. And the book would be signed only by those glad to see me gone. That's why they call these things celebrations. So I'm going to put a few words into the chat. Let's see, let me go to chat. And I think I've got some words to put in there. Let's see. Yeah, here they are. Let's see whether that worked. Yes. Okay. Whoops. Let me get it to everyone. And then send it off. There it goes. There are some inanimate objects. And I thought maybe we could first talk about them and see what words get conjured up from each one of those inanimate objects, and then maybe take one of those and write a poem, or think of your own inanimate object. But I thought that would be a kind of a fun thing to do. So the word nail, you can unmute yourselves and just speak out if you'd like. If you have an idea for what kinds of words speak to you from the word nail.
I would say build.
I would too, exactly. I would say iron, maybe. Iron, I would say pounding.
Hammer.
Rust.
What? Rust.
Hammer, hold.
Yep. Construction. What about pebble?
Shore.
What?
Path.
Shore, as in the beach.
Yeah. What did you say, Michael? Did you say
Path.
Path, driveway, skipping on a lake. What else did I have? Oh, I know. Tiny part of a hole. It's just, that's the way I think of a pebble. I mean, think of the pebbles in a driveway.
Scatter.
What kind? What?
Scatter.
Scatter?
Yeah, like when you're walking, you scatter the pebbles.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right.
Shoe.
A road. Oh.
Shoe.
Oh, a pebble. Oh, that's wonderful.
Foot.
Who has a word for shoe? What?
Foot.
We have, shoe's one of the words. Or was that for pebble?
Yeah, for pebble.
Oh, good. Because you get them in your shoes, in the way they get in the treads of tires. I actually have written a poem on that, on pebble, because I thought that was probably going to be the hardest one. And I, they get stuck in the tires of cars too.
I think of shoe fits. Like if the shoe fits.
Right.
So I think about cramming something into the wrong shoe.
Yeah, yeah. As well as travel or walk or soul. And then of course you can have fun with the word soul. S-O-L-E and S-O-U-L. Blade of Grass, that's a toughie, even though Whitman worked on it.
Cut or mow.
What?
Cut or mow.
Cut or mow, right, I know, mower, yeah, absolutely. Lawn.
You know, when I think about a blade of grass, I'm sorry, it just reminds me of needling, threading, also weeding.
Because they're pointed, right?
Yes.
Needle. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's very good.
How about
And
morning?
it reminds me of what we used to do with the blade of grass between our thumbs and
Oh,
blowing.
yeah.
Oh yeah, whistling.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think resilient.
Resilience in grass, yes, because it always does come back, doesn't it?
I like morning dew.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
How it's wet in the morning and then it just dries
Yeah.
out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That has a response, a visceral response to me. As soon as I heard you say morning dew, I felt a certain way. I love that.
You know, like when you go out in the morning to get the paper and you want the grass to be just a little bit wet between your toes, so
Mhm.
it kind of just makes it feel silkier, you know.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I haven't had that experience in a long time. I don't know when the last time I was on lawn. Knife?
Oh, cake.
Yeah. Cake. Yeah. That's a happy thing. I kept thinking of blood and meat and stuff like
Oh no.
Murder.
Carve.
that.
Murder.
Lard?
I said carve.
Carve, right.
Carve.
Carve.
Murder.
How about mirror? That's a good one for poetry.
Oh yeah. Everything from reflection to bright to, I mean, you can go to shadow. There's so much.
Yeah, and is it the truth? When
Also,
you see
blind-
only your appearance in the mirror, is it the truth?
Also blinding.
Blinding, yes, yes,
Like
Very good.
yeah.
Go
right.
cover the mirror.
Oh yeah.
like when you're mourning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, these are poems that I thought we could have fun writing some lines about. And if you want to take about 5 minutes to, does that sound about right, Joy?
Yeah, 5 minutes is a solid amount. So just pick one word and
Just
build
one
something.
word. Yeah, and write about it, maybe 8 or 10 lines or 5 lines, 2 lines, 3 lines, whatever comes out. And remember, you aren't like the object, you are the object. These are persona poems, so you're going to be in the voice of that object.
Yes, ma'am.
We're just about there, Joy.
Sorry, we have 30 seconds.
Okay. Sounds like a timer.
Yes, it is. So go. Let me cancel this. Dismiss. Okay, we're good.
Thank you. Okay, so how'd it go? Happy? Good. Who would like to read something? Good, Michael. Unmute yourself and let's get going.
Sure, why not? You look at me, you see yourself. I take no responsibility. My silvered back and beveled edge allows insight by degree. My tempered face, much like your dreams, is threatened by fragility. You look away, you look back. You cannot get enough of me.
Hey.
Oh, wow.
Very good. Excellent. Yes. Okay. Great rhymes too.
I was going to say, rhyming even. Wow.
I know. Very nice. How many lines was that? I would say 8, 10. Anybody else want to read? Magella, did you write one?
I did, yeah.
Can we hear it? Now,
okay.
I want everyone to know that Magella is here is tuning in from Ireland.
A very dark Ireland, dark and dreary.
I miss it there.
It's about 6:30, 20 to 7 at night.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did the one about the mirror. Here I am, a miracle, untouched in a bombed out city. Here I am, just with the dust of others clinging, uncracked, even though the city is bleeding, but at least the screams have stopped in the streets below me. What can I reflect on now but death, or maybe the removal of all those flags of a vicious regime who hated everything? I am ornate, Art Nouveau. You would call me that if you had the energy to care, in this empty apartment of Wilhelmstrasse, waiting for people who never will to come back home to this now fetid Berlin from the east.
Wow. You really went wild with your imagination.
Okay.
Very good.
Incredible.
Yeah.
We have some fabulous poets here today. All right. Impromptu writing.
Who else? Well, what about you, Joy? Did you write one?
I started writing. I decided to take on the subject of the shoe, rather the persona of the shoe.
Yeah.
Trotting up and down life's highways, kicking up dust when I need you to pay attention. Carrying the weight of you is sometimes more than my soul can stand. Running from yesterday to tomorrow, stepping up to each challenge.
Very nice. Very good. Yeah. You really got it. Yeah. Hiram, did you do one?
I did. Let me see if I can share screen it. Maybe. I chose The Roof. So are you seeing one called
Yes.
The Roof? Okay.
Yes.
So The Roof, or Roof. Who crowed me? Who put this shower on and ran my gutters? Who did the sun go back and forth and move me clouds? Who slanted me up here off down top?
Oh.
And who, oh who, climbs to reach rose bloom me?
Oh. Who slanted me up here off down top?
I love it. I love it.
Love it. I love it, Hiram.
Vintage Hiram. Vintage Hiram. Yes.
Yes, vintage Hiram. Virginia, you wrote one in the chat. Can you read it to us? Maybe not.
Virginia, are you able to unmute and read yours?
Okay.
Thanks.
Wonderful.
Entitled Pebble. I am hard, jagged, and small. I skip across a stream, landing on the other side, a little smaller, but persistent, ready for the next skip.
Great.
All right.
Yeah, very good.
I love it.
I do too. I do too.
Thanks.
Brian.
I did envelope. I wish I could choose what they fill me with. What they fill me with decides how I survive. If it's a utility bill or property tax notice, I will be ripped apart with frustration. If it's some sort of sweepstakes, I am likely to go straight into the trash. I mean, before the internet, people would open the Publishers Clearinghouse and actually order magazines. If they find a political solicitation, I will be crumpled to the point of ruin. But if I had a choice, it would be a love letter. One, a young lady spritzed with expensive perfume, maybe jasmine or bergamot or roses with a touch of spices. The man will see her pretty cursive and oh so carefully open me, maybe with a knife or letter opener. He will smell her scent and she will no longer be far away. He will save her letter and carefully place it back in me, and I will be put into a cedar cigar box filled with other letters his children will discover after his death. They will publish it in a book that will become a Broadway play.
Wow, that just goes to show what you can do. You can just let your imagination go wild.
Well, when you have a wonderful facilitator, that's what I get.
Frankie, do you have something?
Oh, it's pretty rough, but I chose the picture frame.
Yeah.
Okay. My joy to force punctuation on your image, the top, the bottom, the sides, to contain this single moment and logical, frivolous margins surrounding this tiny bit of now. I stop your imagination. There is no scene beyond me, unless and only if you dream it.
Excellent. There is no scene beyond me. That's right. I mean, it's totally confined. Very good. Thank you. Anybody else? Nan.
I can go.
Oh, good. Marissa, hey, welcome.
Welcome, Marissa. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to welcome you.
And welcome to Dorina.
Yes, and welcome to Dorina, another friend from Ireland.
So this is a shorter poem. I wrote it inspired by the doctor's stethoscope, or the yeah. So, okay. The beating is fast, too fast. So quick and pounding and racing, it seems an explosion looms at the end of this rapid dance. I imagine this heart belongs to someone who has lived a long life, to someone whose casket will be heavy and easier to carry and nothing like the lightness of a child whose casket would weigh like mountains upon shoulders. The beating slows, too slow. So ragged and gentle and soft, it seems like life has escaped the grasp of this body already. I imagine this heart belongs to someone who has lived a full life, to someone who has already felt the rhythm and swing and sway of this heart, sparked by a first love or thrilling adventure or a night of drinking in the sweet music of this world. The beating stops, and I imagine this ceasing of motion signifies the end of many worlds. Thank you.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah. I would like to let our other guests know that Marissa is Youth Poet Laureate of Prince George's County.
Ah, yeah, you can tell. It's very good, excellent.
Yeah, just so that put things in perspective. Marissa, it's fabulous to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's so fun to be here.
Dorina, there's a list in the chat with a list of inanimate objects that everyone has been writing. They've picked one and written a persona poem in the voice of that object.
Oh, very good. I'm so sorry I was late. My internet was down. I've been trying to work with internet adapters and connections to try and get up and running, but so that was what the delay was. But I found it eventually. I was just a bit slow. But thank you. I'll take those from the chat then, and just do that in my own time.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not seeing
welcome. I'm glad you're here, and stay, because after this there will be ekphrastic poetry.
Oh, right. Yes.
And you can write a persona poem in ekphrastic poetry. I've written in the voice of a sculpture, and I became the sculpture, and you can become anything you want.
Sure.
That's the beauty of poetry.
Right. Nan, did you have one? No, you did.
I do.
You do. Okay.
It's a little different from the previous, but related. Careful not to rush where angels fear to tread. I move cautiously, gently above your freckled breast. He who guides me doesn't know the deeper truths I do. Your heart has skipped a beat. I know it is the nearness of me.
All right.
Hey, another stethoscope, right? I mean, am I guessing?
Not the pebble, or not the shell.
Very good. Anybody else? Okay. Well, this has been really fun, and I hope you can just put yourself in the shoes of anything. It doesn't have to be another human being, but just think about inanimate objects as well. I'd like to close with, and I'm really looking forward to the ekphrastic poetry. I'd like to close with one last poem from The Last Gun. Gun, he's sitting in his cell and he's waiting for his execution, and he is thinking about, this is going to be a persona poem inside another persona poem of an inanimate object. So Gun tries new personas. Sometimes I put myself in another's shoes, or more realistically, another's hands. Like, say, I talk in the voice of a sword. I enjoy the double-edgedness of it, a good and bad side, the black and white. What's the opposite of me? Oxygen, I suppose, but a hand can't hold oxygen the way it can hold a sword. Oxygen slips right through the fingers. On occasion, I've pretended to be a hand grenade, which goes along with my delight in explosion and blast, and of course, hitting a target, although aim doesn't have to be so precise with a grenade as what I'm used to. A grenade can do huge damage, an unfamiliar economy of scale that appeals to me, and I like to talk it up. Now and then, I've talked in the voice of a switchblade, a sleek, quiet, almost delicate instrument, quiet except for when a finger pushes the button and a blade springs out of the handle, sort of like a bullet and just as fast. When I'm a switchblade, I talk like a gang member. I feel sexy, dangerous, exotic, like someone with an accent. It's all about thrust, power, and killing.
Ooh, okay. Okay.
That's that naughty boy, Gun.
And you look so sweet.
My mind just goes in so many
trust
different
me.
directions.
We all know only too well. We're all poets here. No surprise. Okay.
Well, it's really been a pleasure to meet all of you and to hear your poems and to just, let's keep on writing, all of us.
Absolutely. And could you please be sure to put your contact information in the chat?
I've put it in twice. I'll put it in again.
Okay.
And,
Okay. I know
anybody feel free to email me with questions or thoughts or poems. I love it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. So now we're going to transition to our workshop on ekphrastic poetry. And as has been said, there's ekphrastic poetry is a very much wide open category that allows for expression based on what is seen. And let's see, I think I see another guest. Was that Joy Jones who just joined us? I'm not even sure, but it's hard for me to keep up with everybody. If I do gallery view, then the numbers. And Jacqueline Woody, welcome everyone that I haven't welcomed before. I want to do this while we're transitioning from our first session to our ekphrastic poetry set. Jacqueline Woody, welcome. I know I saw, yeah, there she is, Joy Jones, welcome, absolutely. Sean Jones, I didn't get to acknowledge publicly earlier. He's with Asala. Welcome, Sean. And if there's anybody else that I've missed, please charge it to my vision and not my mind or heart. But we are now going to, as I said, talk about and discover, for those new to it, ekphrastic poetry. And basically, ekphrastic in Greek means description. So an ekphrastic poem is a vivid description of a scene, or more commonly, a work of art. Through the imaginative act of narrating and reflecting on the action of a painting or sculpture, the poet can amplify and expand its meaning. Now, an ekphrastic poem is based on a work of art, usually poems written about a painting, but they can also be based on a sculpture, an object, or even architecture. So it's basically descriptive. Let's see, an ekphrastic poem describes some part of the work of art. So you might want to drill down and not just try to view it as a whole, but something specific to make it unique. It's a wonderful way to stretch the powers of observation and find stories hidden in the art. So the issue of ekphrastic poetry today is going to be pursued through the art of a young lady who is a visual artist by the name of Camiko Robinson. And Camiko is with us today. I'm going to share some of her bio information, and then Camiko will be sharing her 2 pieces of her art, and she will be discussing them prior to creating your ekphrastic poems based on her art. So Camiko Robinson is an artist within the Maryland, Virginia area. Her vision is to encourage and enlighten others with her art. The medium she most uses is acrylic and sometimes oils. She is always trying to, she's trying other forms, other media, and learning more techniques to expand and grow her craft. Originally from New Orleans.
Oh, you got ears.
Somebody please mute. Can everybody please mute for right now? I'm sorry. Everybody please mute for now. Thank you. Let's see. She's originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, and many of her pieces have a heavy influence in the Creole culture. Her works display vibrant colors and feeds into the ethnicity and origins of New Orleans. Some of her pieces are related to current events and social issues. One of her first foremost art shows, which was focused on dancers, was called The Grace of Movement. She most recently was a participant in a display on Black Lives Matter at the National Building Museum. And her works encourage and uplift messages to the community in these most difficult of times. I'm going to stop there and invite Camiko Robinson to please unmute and share about yourself, that maybe in a way that I didn't include, and also about your art. And I'm also going to ask our technician, Joshua Reynolds, to please screenshot the 2 pieces of art that Camiko will be discussing today, and that will be the basis of your ekphrastic poetry momentarily. So Camiko, unmute.
I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Hi, again, my name is Camiko Robinson. It's a pleasure to meet you all and be here today to just discuss some of my art on this panel. It's a great privilege to be here amongst you all. So I have 2 pieces. As you can see, one of them is featured there on the screen as well as behind me. It's called Seated in God's Grace. Let me see if I can move it up over just a little bit more. It's called Seated in God's Grace. And because of my background in my faith, I wanted to do something pertaining to that and keeping the faith and grace that God allows us in a form of movement, because I love to dance. I have danced in the past. So I studied modern jazz, tap, and all of that, ballet. So that is also part of my background as well. And so for this particular piece, Seated in God's Grace, which is 18 by 32, I believe, is a abstract surrealism piece with acrylic. I've used other forms of medium as well on this piece. And I wanted to show movement and grace and how beautiful a dancer is when they are moving and using their body to express their feelings or their emotions within their body. And I love how I use the fabric to flow throughout the piece. I added like sparkles, glitter to add to that to make it pop more. And I also used, I wanted the background to be a little bit more blurry so that she would be the focal point. And so I used a technique where you take the paint and you just lay it across and then slide it down to make that effect of just a little bit of lines going across. And I love gold. I love using gold to represent light and being bright. And I know that God is light, and just showing that depiction of it as well. So yeah, that's on that particular piece. I'm trying to think what else. What encouraged me about this piece, or what inspired me, I should say, to create this piece is, again, my background with my faith. And I just want to encourage younger girls to believe in themselves. And even though you may get knocked down, many times we do get knocked down, and things that are happening in our lives, you know, especially this year has been really difficult, to know that God's grace is sufficient and that we can get back up gracefully and continue to keep on going. So that's what inspired me to create that piece.
Okay. Now the other piece.
So yes, the other piece that I have, I'm gonna move it a little bit closer to you all so you can see.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of big. Let me see if I can move it down a little bit more. But this is called The Circle of Life. Okay. And the reason I wanted to do this one is I love nature. I love animals. I have a great respect for, you know, elephants, giraffes, all kinds of animals, tigers, lions, everything. I love them. They're beautiful. God's created them to share this earth with us. And so the reason I did the Circle of Life, I thought that, you know, this is her dress, and I wanted her dress to circle them and have them as the focal point for the painting, to show that, you know, humans and animals should be able to get along as long as they love and respect each other. And I want to show part of that being nature. The green signifies not only her dress and the fabric, but also the earth and nature. And the blue is for the sky. And I also didn't want to put a face on her because I wanted people to relate and be able to put themselves in that space of being able to, you know, love the creatures that was placed here on earth, and just to embrace that and be a part of nature, you know. So this is a 36 by 48, I think, piece. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but this is also acrylic. And again, I really love the colors that I used in here. I love bright colors, so you can see that in here, as well as the gold. Again, I do that a lot in my paintings, and using gold to show light and love and just make it pop more. So yeah, that's what I have.
Okay, well,
So
thank you so much. Camiko, thank you for sharing your art and discussing the art, allowing us to get inside what was in your spirit. And so we're now going to take 7 minutes to craft ekphrastic poetry. And ekphrastic, let me just, everyone, I'm just going to type out, it's simply ekphrastic, ekphrastic poetry. So each of us will now take, like I said, 7 minutes to craft something about one of the 2 pieces of art that Camiko shared with us. And we will come back, and what we will do is to share what we've written as the opening part of the open mic. And then we'll go directly into the open mic and hear other poems that you have brought with you today to be a part of today's workshop. So I'm setting the timer for 7.
What were the titles of the 2 paintings, if you don't mind?
Yes, the first one is called Seated in God's Grace.
What is it in God's grace?
Seated.
Okay.
Yeah, Seated in God's Grace.
Okay.
And then this one is called A Circle of Life. Oh, I'm sorry, The Circle of Life.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. That is the end of our writing session for the ekphrastic poetry that is inspired by the art of Camiko Robinson. And let's see, we are officially now going directly into the open mic, which will begin with our featured poet, Anne Harding Woodward, to share whatever she crafted from this experience of ekphrastic poetry. And then we're going to hear one of her original poems that she brought with her today as well. From that, we will go into hearing other ekphrastic poetry and original works that you brought. So Anne, could you unmute first, unmute before?
Yes, I will do what Hiram did and see if I can share screen this with you.
Okay, wonderful.
There we go, okay. When you hold leaves to a giraffe's mouth, when a giraffe eats from your hand, when you show your love to a giraffe, your skirt will soar up and around the two of you as if in a circle of air and sun and breeze, you and a giraffe inside a circle that has no end, swirling up into the sky.
Oh, wow. That just absolutely looks like it would be the perfect caption under that art. Wonderful, wonderful. Camiko, what do you think?
That was beautiful. I loved it. Awesome.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Anne, for kicking off our open mic. And Anne, what did you bring with you today to share? We're going to go back to ekphrastic poetry and original poetry throughout this open mic.
Yeah. I thought I would read one from my new book, Trouble. Kind of a fun one. It has to do with, you know what a palindrome is? It's a sentence that can be read either way.
Yes.
Like a man, a plan, a canal, Panama can be read right to left and left to right. This is called, well, the palindrome I used for this poem is snub no man, nice cinnamon buns. And if you read it backwards, it says exactly the same thing. Snub no man, nice cinnamon buns. This is called Waiting for a Train, a Man with a Plan. A palindrome goes both ways. Snub no man, I heard him say. He turned to look at me at the dead-end platform bay. Nice cinnamon buns, I heard him say. Was he coming on to me as prey? He held out pastries. I looked the other way. Snub no man, again I heard him say. Nice cinnamon buns. He stared at me and offered me an array of yeasty sweets. Would next it be cafe au lait? I snubbed him and his tray of eats. Again he cautioned, snub no man, and he sashayed in front of me, from right to left and left to right and to and fro with his buffet, backward, forward, he didn't stray. No, his beginning was the end, his start again. Snub no man, nice cinnamon buns, he said once more, threw out a laugh, as out of himself he passed, north and south, forth and back, like the train screeching in the bay, coming toward us, then back away in its own course of road ballet.
All right. Palindromes are just so amazing to me. I've never ever mastered writing one, but I've always been amazed when I see them, and to be able to really do what you just did was amazing. Thank you. Okay. Do we have any feedback for Anne on that creative venture of palindrome. Okay. Well, we're going to then go forward with our list of participants for, let's see, some folks have had to leave already, but I'm going to just go down the list of names that I have. And if anybody is left off, just put in the chat and I'll catch your name and call you. So is Dynasta Battle still with us?
I don't think so.
Okay, moving down, I see Hiram Laru. Hiram?
Yeah, thank you, Sister Joy. I think I'll step back and thank Camiko and Anne and you, Sister Joy, for hosting and offering the workshop today, and cede my time to folks like Diane Wilbon Parks and others who haven't had a chance to read yet.
Okay. Well, we move on down then. Virginia Montero is the next on my list. Is Virginia still with us?
I am, but I don't have anything to offer today.
Okay. Well, thank you for being with us, Virginia. We certainly appreciate you joining in the today's workshop. How about Magella?
Yeah, okay. I did the poem about the Seated in God's Grace, the painting.
Okay.
Arms outstretched with crossed legs and ballet shoes pointed, yes, like wings billowing behind her, a glittering bodily masterpiece. The blur behind of light clouds, goldenish, with hints of precious metal. She sitting on a lake of blue acrylic, thinking of a higher power in her coordination of movement sacred. So
wonderful. Thank you so
that
much.
Was awesome. I loved it. Very beautiful.
Okay, thank you.
So you've had reaction from your art from Ireland. Okay, how about Nan? Is Nan still with us?
Nan had to leave.
Okay, thank you. And how about Sharon? Sharon Coffee? Okay. How about Michael Sindler?
Sure. Now we're on to the open mic part, right? So I can.
Well, if you did not choose to craft an ekphrastic poem, then you certainly may.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have loads and loads of ekphrastic poetry. It's sort of.
No, we were asking if you had written anything based on what was presented, the art that was presented today.
I already, yeah, let somebody else go for that.
Okay, well then how about just us hearing one of your original poems that you brought with you today?
Okay, could I screen share?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go ahead and put this up. And this is actually, sorry, this is trying to work this. So I can do this. Sorry, it's taking a second. He's called Holy Toast. You think I'm just a piece of toast? I'm not. I'm a freaking holy ghost. I'm the mother in your dreams. And yet you would smear me with jam or even worse, margarine? Don't you see and smell magic before you? I pop up perfect in my glory, radiating warmth and compassion, tried in the flame and never bested. Your redemption, brown and beautiful like a true spirit of Judea, leavened, salted with blessed tears. Can you still not recognize the miracle before your eyes? Am I but a communion wafer you digest to request my son's favor? Am I just another flavorful and textured part of a sullen, soulless sandwich you devour without thinking twice about the few precious hours you have to live and understand? Am I just toast in your empty mind and stomach, your burnt conscience and burnt hand?
Okay, Michael, I love it.
Holy
We have such creative, yeah, holy toast.
Holy toast, Michael. That's a persona poem.
Yes, it is.
An ekphrastic persona poem. That's
Yeah.
terrific.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michael. Okay. Let's see, Frankie Gee, do you have something to share?
Certainly. And thank you so much for this. I didn't know that I was going to be able to, I didn't know that this existed today. And so I've learned some new words and heard some excellent poetry. So thank you so much. My poem is based on the circle of life.
Okay.
Okay. The circle of life. Touch the air with my long, slender hands. Bring the sky down to the top of your gentle head. A comforting breath of golden sun dances on my haunted eyes. I was you in a previous life, my sister of the planet, my long lost soul. Your soothing, patient face does not quite smile, but makes my heart laugh. Thank you for this embrace. You have nudged me back to me.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much.
That was awesome.
The spirit of an artist, for sure. Thank you, Frankie. And Diane Wilburn Parks, what would you share?
I am sorry, Sister Joy. I'm just going to share what the acrostic, an acrostic poem from the art today. Of course, it has no title. It never does. Okay. And even as I fold into green, the leaves that hand weaves themselves onto and into the circle of this life, this body belongs to the eyes of a vision that can only whisper up to the wings of birds, the gold that surrounds the sun, that secrets these eyes. I am given to the sky and the giraffe. This is where I stretch and cross-stitch my life with the eyes and vision of a long neck, of a wide spinal cord that lifts its blue back. Here is where the giraffe gazes at the wonders of the dreams that float through this body and above it, and can only see the fruit that lives underneath the seeded leaf. I am meant for growing, for multiplying beyond what others see, and it is with the clarity of unfolding dreams that I belong to the tribe, to the leaf, to the sky, and to the long neck of giraffes that hold dreams. It has been written from the leaves of trees, from the spotted giraffe, that only those with vision can truly see and carry your dreams.
Wow. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous.
Awesome.
Camiko, what do you think of that?
That was 2 thumbs up. That was really, really beautiful. All of the poems are beautiful, but I just appreciate it. It brings it even more so to life. So beautiful.
Okay. Thank you so much, Diane. How about, let's see, Jenna Belissimo.
Hello, okay. The giraffe first extended his tongue into her open palms to make sure it wasn't some sort of trick. There were oats and shredded lettuce and mangoes. The sweet, sticky mango pulp sent shockwaves to his taste buds. He liked the soft voice of this strange animal that was gifting him with the sustenance. He could hear her heartbeat, though she couldn't hear his. He felt as if the earth engulfed them both in symbiosis, and he could now say that he finally had experienced symbiosis.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so that giraffe piece really is inspiring folks quite a bit, Camiko.
Yes, I see. It's awesome.
Yes, wonderful. Okay, Marissa, would you care to share?
Marissa had to leave early.
Oh, she had to leave. Okay. How about was it Bundy? Is Bundy still with us? Yes, Bundy Bolt.
Bundy.
I am.
Can we see you?
Thank you so much. Whoops. There. Oops. Thank you so much. I'm on here because Anne is my sister.
Okay.
And I'm a playwright, and she and I have written a play together.
Yes, I heard about
but I don't consider myself a poet, but I'm doing these exercises and having fun. So
Wonderful.
Pass me up today, but I'm so happy to be here and to hear these gorgeous poems.
Thank you so much.
It's really stimulating me for more writing. So I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. Absolutely. So we'll be sharing information later online about what the new year will bring for this series. Actually, this is the conclusion of the series, but we'll be starting a new series in January to be announced soon. But thank you again so much, Bundy, for being with us today. Okay, and Dorina, is Dorina still with us? Or did she have to leave? Oh, I see, yeah, she's still here. Dorina? Maybe not.
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Oh, okay, there you are, yes.
I can't say I was able to produce anything that quickly because I don't write very quickly. So I write very slowly, and I spend a long time trying to produce something. But anyhow, I have a paragraph, so I'll read the paragraph. Okay. It's seated in God's grace.
Yes.
It had been a walk of slippery gravel. Her feet struggled to catch a grip. On the Ballyhara hills, her foot slipped more than once. The journey had been long and arduous, at times dangerous and destructive. In her dream, an older, wise woman came, dressed her in gold, hung beads around her neck, and lifted her up onto life's stage, where with his grace she danced. So it's just really a very
that's very elegant, very beautiful, picturesque, absolutely appropriate for that piece of art. I agree.
Oh, well.
Thank you so much. Now, did you also bring a piece of poetry to share today?
Well, no, I didn't know that you wanted that, but I can always pull up something.
Okay. Well, while you're pulling
come back to me then. Yeah.
Yes, okay. I'm going to share mine, and then we'll come back to you. Okay, and mine is quite short because I'm a slow writer as well. Okay, just 1 second. I'm not the best on technology, but I just don't want to. So anyway, the piece of art that I ended up writing about is the Seated in God's Grace. And the little bit I wrote simply says, such grace, allowing even as I fall to land in his arms of safety, in his arms of mercy, allows us to regain our footing, stepping ever so gently from disappointment to success, when we gracefully lean on and learn from him.
That was beautiful.
Thank you for your beautiful art, Camiko. We really do appreciate your being a part of today's experience. Now, did I miss anybody? And I'm looking in the chat just in case. I think I got everybody, but if I missed you, please.
Does Camiko have a website that we can look at more of her art because it's so spectacular?
Camiko, do you have a website?
I don't have a website just yet, but if you all are on Facebook, you can go to Fine Artists T Coco Creole. I'll type it in the chat where you can find stuff. I'm working on a new website now, so.
Okay. Well, that pretty much winds us down close to the end of our event. For those that want to save any information in the chat, if you look at the bottom of the chat, you see the three dots, the ellipses. If you click on that, it says save chat, and you can, retain any information, writing samples, contact information, so that you can connect with the participants today. I'm now going to enter my email contact information and make it available. There are two email addresses that I most often use. If I could type, it would help. Okay, so those are the two email addresses where you can be in touch with me. As I said, this series, and last year we did the Poet Laureate Reading Series. This year we did the Literacy Through Poetry Series. We have not yet finalized what next year's series will be, but it will be a year-long series allowing for monthly engagement with poets. Initially it was in the community. Now the community is the world, which, sometimes when you get lemons, beautiful flowers and lemonade trees blossom. So we definitely would love to hear from you as to what it is you would like to see happen with next year's series. There are a couple of projects on the horizon, so we'll be happy to share them offline. But thank you very much for being with us. And please make sure that you leave your contact information if you have not yet done so. We want to make sure that we can reach out to you, even though you can contact us directly through those email addresses provided. But this has been a wonderful session. I hope everyone feels that they got something that they can grow through, because that's ultimately what we do when we workshop. We're trying to grow and hone our craft and create opportunities for doing something new with the written word. So thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? Was there another poem? Let's see, we do have a few. Yeah, we have a few. We have some more time, so we can do another round robin of poetry. Let's see, another poem that Dorina was going to do. I'm sorry, I forgot about Dorina. This is going to be Dorina coming back to share her poem that she was looking for. And then I'm going to start down the list. If anybody has a second poem, we do have time, because this session is supposed to go until 3 o'clock. So I will definitely look forward to hearing Dorina Jennings from Ireland. And Dorina, what do you have for us?
I have a poem. It's a COVID poem. So it's just about a whole lot of things that people were expressing, especially during the first lockdown. There was an awful lot of conversations about the amount of wine people were drinking, and here in Ireland anyhow. So, and it kind of, I think, became an issue for people. But this is a poem called Unraveling. At night, she walks every aisle of the supermarket, something she took up from the start of all this. It helps her clock up steps on the watch they supplied to her. They supplied to keep her health in check, a smile project. At the dairy aisle, a woman tosses blocks of butter in the air. Another bumps her side as she struggles to adjust her mask. A few feet away, an older man reads his list over and over, as if trying to translate it into something familiar. She moves to the spices, sauces, and seasoning, moves again past the surface cleaners, window cleaners, and disinfectants. Finally, finding comfort in the wine section, she spots him over by the whiskey. He catches her eye. funnels a well of sadness into it. He moves, nearly topples some absolute. Quick to steady it, he carefully feels its shape, then onto the cider where he finds what he needs. She judges until she feels the full weight of her own bottles. Tonight, she will take the long way home through the streets of an empty town.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dorina.
You're welcome.
Let's see, starting the list. Let's see, why don't I share one more poem? I've not shared a poem during the open mic, I don't think. So this is a relatively new poem. It's titled, Living in the Jim Crow South. Living in the Jim Crow South cast a larger than life shadow. Caution and prayer become your first cousins, carry you to and through hopeless days and crazed nights. Living in the Jim Crow South means moving in slow motion, like seemingly everything around you, taking slower steps to gauge the many pitfalls that lay ahead, speaking a bit slower, measuring out one word for every 10 that crosses your mind, but not your tongue, lest they be your last. For talking fast, Black folks don't last long in the Jim Crow South. Living in the Jim Crow South means being mindful of those who seek to ensure you never really reach too high. So it's best to stay ever mindful of the blood-stained dreams of slain ancestors and elders whose struggles and dreams ended much too soon. Living in the Jim Crow South affects you, becomes locked into your DNA. DNA, do not aspire to dream, to rise, to challenge. DNA, do not attempt to believe you deserve equality. DNA, do not attempt to breathe too deeply, lest you hear and feel echoes of yesterday's whips that snap as they cut into the souls of Black bodies. Living in the Jim Crow South is not locked in the past, still takes place in 2020 in places like New York, Wisconsin, California, places where whips are replaced by blind bullets that follow the same sight lines as their precursor whips that target Black bats, minds, and ambitions living in the Jim Crow South. Thank you so much. How about Dynasta? Did you have another piece, Dynasta? How about Virginia? And Magella, how about Magella? I'm not hearing audio. Camiko, can you speak so I can test to make sure the audio is still with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anne.
Okay.
Let's see. I think Nan had to leave. And Sharon, how about Sharon? Do you have something you'd care to share? Michael Sindler? I'm not hearing you.
Michael left.
Frankie's here.
Okay. Who's here?
Frankie.
Oh, Frankie. Frankie, do you have something you'd care to share? Please, thank you.
Sure, I'm just loving this, so thank you guys for bearing with me. This is one I wrote a very long time ago, and I haven't read it for a while. It's called Back from War. Back from War. She planned the celebration years ago, the day the others came back home, most a little worse for wear, but happy that their nightmares were over. Her husband's body came walking up the path, and she let it in, thinking it would bring her him, but sadly, he was gone. The thing her doorway darkened was not the man she loved. This was paranoid, brutal, and dim. It was not her husband who left for war. She knows it isn't him. And so she waits for her love to return, back from the battle in his mind, perhaps scarred badly, but still the same. She waits for him each day, but he is never coming home.
Wow, very touching. Thank you. You said a lot in a few words. Okay, how about Diane Wilburn Parks? Diane, do you have another offering you'd care to offer?
I think Diane had to leave.
Okay. Jenna Belissimo?
I will, but I will preface to say that yesterday I had a little case of a bad attitude. And, you know, sometimes we get that, but we can choose to express it. We can choose to not express it, right?
Okay.
This is called the least sweet fruit on earth.
Okay.
I am a connoisseur of sour grapes. There are, to be palatable, sour grapes must always be sweetened and spiced up exponentially. Making sour grape jelly takes an inordinate amount of sugar. To ferment sour grapes, one must submerge them in at least 1.5 times the volume of raw honey for at least a month. Sour grapes are most often used for vinegar, but the vinegar can only be used in small amounts. No matter how sour grapes are consumed, no matter how delicious sour grapes taste in their altered state, sour grapes are still sour grapes. Sour grapes will always cause heartburn in one way or another.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, it will. So they will. Very good. Okay, how about Bundy? No, you told me before you're Anne's sister. Magella, do you have something you'd care to share? Magella is muted, so I'm not sure if she's saying no or... Okay, moving down, I see Virginia is still with us. Is Virginia, did you care to offer something?
No, thanks.
Okay, okay. Well then I'm thinking we're gonna close out with one poem by our featured poet and one more poem by me, and then we will be done for the activity today.
Okay, well, some of you will remember last year in June, I think it was, yes, June of 2019, a father and child were trying to cross the Rio Grande and they drowned. And the photograph of their bodies along the side of the river with we could see just their backs went all over the world. It was viral. Yeah. And I turned that story into what's called a skinny. And this is see how skinny that poem is?
Yes.
It's a form that was invented by Truth Thomas, who's a poet here in the DC area. And it has a lot of repetition. It has lines that consist of only one word, right. And that's why it's skinny. And this poem consists of 3 skinnies put together.
Oh.
It's called Birds Keep No Borders. Father and daughter drowned, face down, river, separating families, face down, languages, nations, love, face down, daughter and father drowned. Birds keep no borders. Freedom resides in bird song, freedom from cages, limiting freedom. No borders keep birds. Daughter and father sing, fly across border rivers, fly your song home, fly, sing, father and daughter.
Okay. And what inspired that? Was it viewing?
The photo that I saw of those.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you did say.
So sad. It was just really a tragedy. And it happens a lot.
No borders. Wow.
Right.
Thank you. It's been a while since that had come to my consciousness, so thank you for bringing it back. It deserves to be retained.
It does, you're right.
I will close out with a poem that I wrote actually after watching a biopic about a phenomenal musician. He was actually a symphony orchestra director. And well, I'll not go into all of that. The poem is titled Word Symphony. And it's something that I hope if you appreciate music and if you appreciate poetry, you'll appreciate the poem. Maestro of more than music, adagio, staccato, pianissimo, word neither desires nor requires such orchestration. Music, that crisp or willowy flow that feeds our soul, dancing rhythmically, aesthetically connects us one with another. Yet music only mimics, cannot thoroughly converse. It is through word that vibrant hearts burst, alert with life, conveys totally understood, cultivated concepts with wanton freedom or bated breath. Music, enchanting, engaging, or arresting as she is, only brings us to the brink, to the edge. Word reveals what's inside, echoes ancestors' prayers, resonantly chanting their eternal song. Word evokes more than mere melody, more than captivates our senses, conveys consciousness, conviction to cause. Word encourages us to claim, while music merely alludes to ideas. We dance to her rhythm, allow our soul to swirl, step through syncopated spectrums, swim into sounds that swell our imaginations beyond control. But word gets us there, gets us going, gets under our skin with no skepticism, no third-party analysis is required. Through word, we make our mark, scrutinize and sanctify each utterance as primal feelings are birthed, unearthed, needing weeding and care, often weary beyond capacity, anchored in finely sketched, vastly stretched dreams that come through nuanced whisper or bellowed scream. Word beckons, confronts, accosts, chastising, probing our psyche, demanding our all, demurely giving her all. Don't you know who I am? Creation began with me. My continuum explores and explodes through the